What's up? My name's Daniel. I'm a fitness coach as well as somebody who's read one too many psychology books. I believe I'm sitting somewhere above 100 now. I stopped counting at 100. But anyways, what I want to talk about today is the only 7 ways that you can actually fail at something. Okay? What do I mean by that though? I don't believe in failure as in you can truly fail at something unless you give up on it. So with this logic, what I'm trying to say is if you stick to something long enough, you will become good at it, right? So if you wanted to get good at basketball, right? If you could just somehow put 4 hours a day into basketball, you want to be the best at basketball. Let's say you somehow put 4 hours a day into basketball, you're strategical with it. The point is if you put 4 hours every day for a long enough period of time, you would eventually be amongst the best people, right? Of course, trying to play competitively if that's your goal. But point is you put 4 hours a day. But not everyone can just put 4 hours a day towards something like that every day for years or however long it takes. And basketball is just a simple analogy, right? You can think about this as work, business, sports, whatever it is you do, right? You can get there if you study, work hard, and do it extensively, right? You see where I'm going? If you do the work, you put in the hours, you will get the result. Unless you're stupid. Most people aren't stupid. That's like only 5% of the population. Who knows? Doesn't matter. But the point is, you put in the time, you get the result. Easier said than done, right? Why can't people actually do that though? Why can't people just put their full 16 hours of their day towards something and get it? Why is that? Well, one great place to start is thoughts. Thoughts are kind of the root of almost everything, right? You have your want, you have your goal, and then while you're working on the goal, you have thoughts, right? And eventually what you'll find is most people, they will start the thing. They will maybe do it for a week, few days, who knows how long. It depends on the person. But people eventually just fall off. So when we look to all these people that are higher up, they just put in the hours and they didn't fall off, right? They just did it. They put in the hours, they got the results, that's it, end of story. But how come some people just fall off and they never get to actually put in the hours? Well, I have the 7 types of people or the 7 types of thoughts that can stop somebody. So a lot of the time, there's essentially 7 different ways that your mind convinces itself to quit. So I figured the best way is to just go through each one. Okay. The first, well, let's start here. We'll do the most common one. What do we call this one? We call this one the mourner. This is the one where, what if everything doesn't work? What if it all goes wrong? Is this even worth it? This is your brain telling you that it's probably not going to work and it's not worth the reward. It's your brain trying to say, this XYZ goal that you have and want might not happen. That can take somebody down. That's a common thought. There's another thought that also invades the mind. It's the I don't care. I'm done. It has taken so much from me and I'm so overwhelmed and overloaded that I give up. And the problem is, there's 7, that's just 2 out of the 7. But the root problem is that you will listen to these emotions and the thoughts that these emotions give you, right? Because you have the emotion and that amplifies the thought, and you decide if you're going to follow that thought, give into it, suppress it, whatever you do with it. That is ultimately your decision. Another one, I call it the nostalgic emotion. It's where you feel nostalgic about the past. You're like, oh, remember how simple it was when I didn't have to do all this work? Remember what the good times used to be like when I could do this XYZ? Those good times, those great times. And that really just comes from you desiring comfort again, right? And you're mistaking what's to you as familiarity for being better, essentially. That's another one, right? And oftentimes you'll see these, the words will be different for every person, but the emotion is the same. I'll just kind of put labels to the emotions, but everyone's inner dialogue is going to be a little different. And the trick is to not let these emotions consume you as you go. Another one. Essentially there's what you could call like the prophet of doom or doom and despair. I don't know, whatever you call it, but it's like essentially anger or kind of like anger and defense mode. It's like where I shouldn't have to suffer like this. This is not fair. Life's not fair. It's like the anti-accountability, This is not who I am. You externalize everything that's happening to you, saying it's not you. And that's one. I've never had to deal with that one personally. The others, they come up at times, but that one, not me. But the point is, it's trying to protect you from future pain, and it wants you to quit early, essentially. Right? All these want you to quit in some way or another. Whether that's taking down the goal, tearing down you, tearing down the process, tearing down the beliefs, tearing at literally anything to get you to stop. And the problem is a lot of people will give in to these because they think that their thoughts are true. Thoughts are not true. Thoughts are just suggestions by emotion, which do not have to be given into at any moment. They're just signals, not something to follow. They're not real. Okay, and then, let's see. This other one. Okay, this one's call this one the auditor. It's essentially where, what is even the point? It's like the philosopher who thinks everything, I think it's extinctionism. I don't remember the name of it, but it's when nothing matters. Why even try? Nothing happens at the end of the day. None of this is real, There's no point in it. It's essentially stripping the reward down, right? And it's saying that the goal is not worth any of the costs because nothing's worth it, nothing matters. And it's just trying to feel rational about that thought that you're chasing a reward that might not even be there, or whatever words or dialogue it tries to convince you that it's not worth it, essentially, and there's no point to it. It's kind of like almost like a depressed person. There's no point, there's no hope, there's nothing, right? I'm not talking to the extent of a depressed person. I don't help depressed people, but people still do have the emotion of what is the point, right? They'll have that empty emotion of like, why even do this? Usually in kind of like a hopeless moment because you don't believe for a minute that you might not hit it, right? But anyways, it's not a true thought anyways. So that's another one that can be a pain. I am a victim to this one, honestly, sometimes, but it's kind of like the word for it would be like kind of like the visionary, or I don't know, somebody who like essentially sees something. Like sees like kind of like a vision. Let's see, I'll explain. So it's like euphoria or inspiration, where it's like, I understand this now, and because I understand it, I don't need to do it. So essentially it's just excess dopamine from an idea or concept or like epiphany type moment, and it stops you from seeing that the action is in the work, and it tries to tell you that the idea is the action, so it tries to keep you in your head, essentially. And that is one tricky emotion to get behind, because it's like, you're brilliant, you understand, you don't need to do that. You already know how it works. Or whatever you're trying to accomplish, you understand it. But it's like, so what? I don't have what I've been trying to get, so what's even the point there? And these emotions are just trying to stop you from ultimately accomplishing whatever XYZ goal you have. And it's really just those 7. It's the nostalgia, the numbness, the doubt, the anxiety, the anger, the apathy, and the euphoria. That essentially, those are like the 7 deadly sins almost type thing for accomplishing any goal. And there's different solutions to dealing with each of them, because you don't want to suppress them, because when you suppress something, it comes back stronger. So you can observe them, right? You can compare the 7, but just because you know the 7 doesn't mean you're going to be able to actually get past it. So a lot of them, what they have to do, I don't know, it's kind of in the, it's hard to put this into words here, but the visionary, for example, the way you counter it is you don't disallow it, but you allow it at the same time. So it's like, write down whatever euphoric thoughts, idea, whatever it is, write it down, 72 hours later, come back to it, right? That way it's not dismissed, but it was addressed, and you can still come back to it later without it being actually suppressed. So that's kind of how you would move towards or past that one, and then use your idea if it was actually good, or, you never know if it's just a moment of euphoria or it's just nothing, and your idea just sucked. I don't know. For example, there's also like the apathy, the flat line where everything's kind of numb. The solution to that one is you essentially stop discussing it with yourself and you just keep going. So you don't make any decisions while in this stage. You just continue, you continue your autopilot or whatever you're doing, and you do not evaluate till the next day. And each one essentially has just these lists of different things you can do. And a lot of them have to do with still acknowledging the core of it, but also putting it later if you can, or addressing it now if you can. It's all dependent on the emotion itself. But the whole point is, not every thought is actually going to be helpful in any way, shape, or form. So just use the ones that are actually helpful and then ignore all the unhelpful ones as you go. And that pretty much covers most of it. So, yeah.